Ponytown updates are something that happen consistently throughout the year. But with the year coming to an end here very soon, I want to go through all of the updates we had in 2024 and see how they compare to 2023. Were there more fixes in 2024 than in 2023? Were there more major versions? Were there more highly requested features, etc., etc.? So let's just take a look at the changelog. So to find the changelog in Ponytown is to just go to About. That's all you have to do. Click on About. You'll see the changelog on the right side. If you scroll down here, you can then hit Show All, and it will show all the updates throughout basically its entire lifetime, which is pretty cool. It doesn't show dates next to the update version, which is very unfortunate. If I'm being honest, it would be awesome if we had that, because it would be really cool to just go back and be like, oh, on this date they added this, and I don't know, I feel like it could be cool for archival reasons. But anyway, we can still figure out when 2024 started by just simply looking for this right here where it says disabled holiday event. If it says disabled holiday event, we know that was when roughly January started, because they're not going to disable the holiday event in the same year that they start the holiday event, because they're not going to disable it like 6 days after they add it, obviously, right? So all we have to do is scroll until we see that. So if we scroll through here, we can see all kinds of different stuff here. Right here, disabled gift collection event. That's what we're really looking for, because if we look down a little bit more, happy holidays, they added the gift collection event. That's obviously like the 22nd or like 20th or somewhere around that range of when it happened, obviously in December of last year. So we know that obviously they're not going to disable it again the same year they add it. They're going to wait till next month before they remove it. So if we just scroll up until we see disabled gift collection event, we can safely assume that this is most likely the first update of 2024. So now that we know where 2024 started, it was clearly on version 0.110.3. This is a pretty cool thing. We can take a look at it and just get an idea of how the year started. They added the ability to change the time map and settings, as well as to set it to auto, day, night, sunset, or whatever, and you can even pause time. So this was a highly requested feature for a long time, at least in my opinion, it seems to be that case. So I think this counts as one of a highly requested feature, so we'll mark it on our list and keep going. They obviously added some other cool stuff too, like map saving current time if time is paused. So if you pause the map and then you save the map, it remembers what day it's supposed to be and what time it's supposed to be. They added pixel perfect selection for players and tools, some pretty cool stuff like that. They improved Chinese localizations, stuff like that. It's pretty nice. We're gonna ignore fixes right now, but at the end we're gonna count all the fixes of 2024 and compare them to all the fixes in 2023 and see if they added more fixes in 2024 than they did in 2023. So another cool thing that we can take a look at too while we're scrolling through this is to keep an eye on the major version. So a major version is basically anything that doesn't have a 0.1 or a 0.2 or a 0.3, etc., etc., etc. It's going to say 0.0. It's going to have 0.0 at the end of it, and that I consider to be a major version. Everything in between is kind of like a minor version or whatever. We can safely assume that based on like whenever they have a holiday thing here, there's usually these huge list of additions, and it's obviously version 0.110.0. So if it has 0.0 at the end of it, it's a major version. Otherwise, it's a minor version. So we're going to compare those as well. So anyway, that was our first update. The second update of the year seems to have been Valentine's Day for some reason. Honestly, it's really weird too, because they added Valentine's Day event and everything, but they also changed it to spring, which I feel is inaccurate, because if I'm not mistaken, winter technically starts in December. I'm pretty sure that's like the first month of, I think it starts on the 21st of December if I'm not mistaken. So it's weird for them to start spring in February when spring kind of starts in like March. But either way, I'm fine with that. It doesn't matter. It's Valentine's Day. It's kind of nice. Notice it's not a major version because it ends in 0.4. They added new placeable items, the rose bouquet. So we got a couple of new items. That's pretty nice. They added rotations for soil bags, and they added a bunch of new emojis, which is kind of cool. I'm not really a huge emoji person. I do play around with them sometimes just for fun of like, oh, look at this goofy thing. They can also be good for like making cutie marks. There's like some ideas that you can get around for that and stuff. There's all kinds of cool things you can do with emojis, of course, but it is what it is. They also improved the sun emoji. They adjusted emoji list order. Here's a weird one. They renamed emotes emoji category to emotes and activities for some reason. I'm not really sure why they renamed that, but either way, another addition. Why not? They added displaying when map time is paused to building UI. So before this, when they added the time stuff, they clearly didn't have full functionality yet. There were still clearly things to add and improve on it, and they clearly did it in the very next update, which is really nice. So what happened after that? Let's see. 5, which fixed gift exchange. This is just fixes, so we can pretty much ignore this one. It just fixes a couple of things. And we can then take a look at this one here, which disabled Valentine's Day. Again, remember, this is not a major version because it ends in 0.6, but they disabled Valentine's Day event. So this is probably getting close to March now, or at least at the end of February. They added the ability to disband parties, which is crazy to think about. I swear we always had this feature. It's so weird to think that disbanding parties was something that was added this year, and very early this year as well. I'm going to count that as a feature that is very good or highly requested, because it feels like something that like people would want, and it's like we have it now, and I cannot imagine living without it, even though I have for many years. They added Pony and Pony plush confirm changes menu. They added listing changes and unsaved pony change dialogue. Again, a highly requested feature, like that ability to just be like, hey, I'm saving this, hey, here's the changes, are you sure you want to confirm this? And then it just shows the differences. I think that's awesome. Added no items found indication in the building UI to help when you notice, like when you're looking for something, it's like, hey, there's nothing here. Added missing commands to help page. Again, adding commands to the help page, a huge improvement really, if you ask me. Showing chat log messages with a strike through effect for messages that failed to send. Again, a super important feature here. There's a lot of good features when they disabled Valentine's Day event for some reason. For some reason though, they removed the delete map command. I'm not really sure why they did that. Maybe it just didn't get a lot of use or something. I'm really not sure. They removed some legacy command aliases as well, which again is seemingly weird, and it's kind of like a, why did you even bother removing these? Why not just keep them in there? It seems like extra work for no reason. They also changed save and play button to play when on the home page there's no edits found, or edits are not saved for longer than 5 minutes, which helps you know that, like, hey, if you hit, because before it used to just say save and play, and so when you hit it, you were like, oh shit, I just overwrit my character, but really you didn't, you just played the game. So this is a super great thing there, and of course there was improvements and fixes, but we'll skip for those for now. Now coming through here, again, it's Easter now. I think this is March, if I'm not mistaken. It could be April. Easter's weird like that. But this is also not a major version because it ends in 0.7, which is crazy to think about. But they enabled the egg collection event, which is obviously something they do every year. They added emoji options by right-clicking or longer tapping, which is kind of neat. So you can access favorite and unfavorite emojis, ability to remove frequently used emojis and stuff like that. Obviously a great feature. They I don't know why they focus so much on emojis early in the year this year. That seems kind of weird. They also added playtime days to display legacy playtime format, which is probably a pretty nice change. They changed playtime to just be displayed in hours. So obviously they kind of changed how that stuff displayed. That did cause a lot of confusion for quite a while. I think I remember like towards the end of the year, I tried to show my playtime and I was like, why is it so high? That's weird. But it was because it was in hours instead of days, as I remembered. They improved frequently used emojis to persist between different browsers and devices. A couple of other improvements and stuff here too, but mostly nothing of note here. A lot of fixes, however, here. Updated default island, which I think is an awesome addition too. This is just something that's like just cool. I love it whenever they update the default island. It just is a nice thing in general. So next up, they disabled the Easter event, and again, not a major version. Again, important to remember that. So we're still on the same major version as we started with last year, but improved give and revoke all party permissions to be available to members without full permission. So they improved some stuff here. Mostly this update didn't really do much besides disable the Easter event. They obviously did a couple improvements and stuff like that, but outside of that, they didn't really do a whole lot. They obviously had a couple of minor fixes here. Again, not major versions. They fixed missing character export and fixed game crashing when trying to type in an emoji. Again, the emojis, the freaking emojis. I don't know what's up with them early in the year. This seems to be half the year almost at this point. But again, not a major version, but they added the ability to send party invites to players who are already in a party. This is a really good feature. Because it meant you didn't have to like ask them to leave their party. You could send the party invite and they would get the prompt, hey, this person is inviting you to something, but you're already in a party. Do you want to leave your party to join this one? This was obviously a super great thing. It kind of cut the middleman out of like, hey, leave your party first or whatever else like that. This helped a ton. They increased the base friend limit by 25, so this was a huge deal too. This is something that people have wanted for a while as well and still want to this day. They want bigger base limits, and so I'm going to count that as a much requested feature, or at least a very important one. So we got 3 in total so far. They added dedicated close button to all modules and stuff like that. So a couple of things like that, mostly nothing too big there, just mostly the base friend limit increasing. Nothing too big of note. So let's go up here, and we're finally in the first major release of 2024, which is arguably in like April to June, maybe. They added 3 new spring music tracks to the main map, which is really nice. They added 3 new soundtracks. That's awesome. Ability to put any held item on tables, counters, and sitting spots when on public maps. This is another highly requested feature, and something that's hard to like, or at least it's kind of like the other thing I mentioned before, where it's hard to remember a time when this wasn't a thing, and it's hard to imagine a time when this is a thing again, because it's just such a weird thing, right? This should have just always been a thing, so it's just such a good feature. They added placing held items outside of original fixed spots, which again is a super big deal. Ability to fill placed cups by interacting with them or while holding a teapot or a kettle. Again, another great feature. These are just, not only did they add all these awesome abilities to do things with items, but they added the ability, they added a bunch of new placeable items like the banana peel and grape stems and gift boxes and gift tubes and bread peels and heart notes and all these kinds of things like that. And it's just an awesome thing here. So this major version here is a super big deal, but let's take a look at the one after that, which was also a major version. So they jumped from one major version immediately to the next. They had no minor versions in there, which is pretty crazy to think about because they almost always have a minor version in between. So version 0.112.0 is a new major version. They added new cosmetics, which again is something that people are always griping about. They're always like, give us new cosmetics. Well, they added them. Again, this is going to be somewhere around June to July-ish. I'm not really sure where this falls into place at, but that's going to be roughly where we're at in the timeline right now. Necklace variants, and all kinds of cool stuff like that. Single-sided variants for 12 back mains. So they added new variants for back mains, which is really cool. They fixed some of the accessories like the griffin claws not displaying correctly when combined with leg warmers and all kinds of other stuff like that. So there's some good fixes here. They added some cosmetics and stuff that people want all the time. And then of course we had that minor version immediately afterwards. And then we had another minor version which added summer. So this one would definitely be around July-ish or June for sure, 100%, because they added summer here now, right? This, of course, enabled Pearl Collection as they do every summer. They added the ability to wear multiple leg accessories per leg, ability to layer leg accessories. Well, you could layer leg accessories over sleeves and pants, all kinds of layering stuff here. They even renamed leg accessory to leg accessories in Pony Editor, which is kind of funny to think about. There's all kinds of cool improvements and fixes and stuff in here. It kind of definitely feels like a minor update while still being kind of on the larger side of the minor updates. And of course, they had a couple of more minor updates here where they just fixed stuff. Like it was like, oh shit, we just released that update, something was broken. Oh shit, here you go. Oh shit, we just released that, something was broken. Okay, here you go. We just released that, something's broken. And they just did that a couple of times. And then we get into major version 113.0, which added the ability to layer and combine face markings. Again, I'm going to count this one as well as a super big important update here, or something that people wanted for a long time, because people have always crying about new face markings, and people I think have wanted the ability to combine face markings for a while. So this was definitely a super big important one here. They separated base color from markings, just all kinds of face improvement markings here, leg accessory improvements and stuff like that. And then of course a bunch of fixes, including spawn rate of pearls, which was definitely, I do remember being kind of broken earlier this year. So that is I remember that happening, which is crazy. They, of course, had a minor update in between, and then a new major version right here immediately afterwards, where they added more summer soundtracks, which is crazy to think about. They finally added the campsite, which is very much a highly requested feature. People have wanted campsite and campsite items for a long time, and so it makes sense that this definitely counts towards that list. So this is another big thing here. They added a campfire sit spot. Obviously, I think if you were around in summer this year, you definitely remember this one, because this just feels like it happened like a month ago, which is crazy to think about. But they added the ability to put marshmallows and skewers and leafless branches. You could even roast marshmallows and stuff like that. They added no flying areas to the tent, so you couldn't fly inside the tents and stuff like that. These two things here, highlighting segments of matching commands and partial command matching. I don't know how much you guys have realized this or noticed this since summer of this year, but this is a huge deal. Like if you do commands a lot like I do, like /roll or slash drop or slash time pause, etc., etc. This was just such a huge time saver. It was so helpful, and it's still helpful to this day. It's crazy. It's super helpful. It's just such a good feature, and something again that should have been there from the beginning, but of course was finally added then. And obviously the map size being increased, it had to happen to add the tints and stuff. So very much awesome. Now, immediately after that, we had a minor version, which had a lot of stuff in it, but is technically a minor version. They added the option to delete all colors in colors menu, which is very useful. I don't know how much people are using it, but it's definitely helpful if you want to reset your palette, so to speak. They added the ability to, added preventing placing collidable items inside of tints, which was a big thing too, because before this, I believe, like in between these two updates, you were able to actually stop people from getting inside the tent by just placing items there or something, which was kind of a problem. Obviously, they could just pick up the items, but it was still a thing. They added already using this character system message, which was kind of a funny thing. If you tried to swap to your current character, it does that. It obviously still does that too, which is just hilarious. And they obviously added can't swap to that character while in flight, warning to in-game editor. So if you're flying in the editor, you can't switch there. Improved in-game notifications and increased pinning incoming notification limits to 25. I really don't think the limit needs to be super high for this, just because, like, how many notifications are you getting in Ponytown? You see what I'm saying? At most, you're getting like whispers, and that doesn't even count towards this limit, so that's irrelevant anyway. So it's kind of weird. I mean, obviously increasing it is good, but I wonder how many people are taking advantage of that increased limit. After that, we had another minor version, which released in autumn. So we finally got autumn activated now, which is crazy. I do remember like the tints coming out and then like autumn or like fall or whatever replacing, like updating the map like immediately afterwards or something. It was crazy. I do remember that being close to each other. So we're definitely in that kind of time era there a little bit. But either way, they replaced power save mode with limit FPS slider, improved magic light shimmering, which is cool. It's mostly improvements. It's literally like it's like fall now, they replaced this thing, and then everything else is either fixes or improvements, which is crazy. And that's why it's a minor update. So if we come up here, another minor one, again, just literally just 2 improvements followed by just nothing but fixes, including map errors and colliders of some objects and stuff. And then we get a new major update right here, which added new placeable outdoor objects, finally giving us those tents and stuff like that onto the actual party island itself, which is obviously a super cool thing. Very nice to have. My favorite of this was not the camp stuff, surprisingly. It was actually the arrow and number signs. This is the closest we've gotten so far to customizable signs. I think it would be awesome if we also had letter signs in addition to the arrow and number signs, but I'll save that for another day. They added a bunch of new placeable food and storage objects, which again, this is mostly just stuff that was part of the campsite that's now part of the map editing and stuff like that. So now you can place them on your island and stuff. There's obviously after that just improvements and fixes, but this was obviously a super big one. And then there was a few more right here, which just definitely needed to be fixed there, and another minor update. And then we had another minor update, which allowed the ability to link your Steam as a social and the ability to cook marshmallows on placed fire. So now when you actually place them on your island, you can actually roast them on there. Additions and command aliases and stuff like that. So really, again, it's not too much of a super big update, and that's why it's a minor update, and nothing too much of note happened there. But going on here, we now have Halloween of this year, which was the last major version of the year. It enabled the candy collection and candy leaderboards. Obviously, there was a bunch of new toys to unlock and all kinds of stuff like that. They even added new items to placeables, which this was something that was like, I loved this. This was absolutely awesome. Spooky item placeables like the spooky trees and the vines and stuff like that. Just an awesome addition to the game, if you ask me. And of course, they added brown variants of tree columns. Again, something that just is a no-brainer. It should have been added a long time ago, but they finally did it, and it's awesome. And this too, when they added highlighting messages and chat log when another player is selected in game, just stuff like this. I think this version right here, even though it's a major version and stuff like that, it just definitely needs to go on my list of like updates that were super important this year. So that being said, that is pretty much it for this update. There was obviously a bunch of more additions and overhauls to like the cave map and improvements to stuff, fixes, etc., etc. But after that, it's only minor versions from here on out, which is just this black screen issue, and then this minor version right here, which disabled the Halloween event, but also added variants of nod and head shake and things like that, and improved a bunch of stuff and commands for emotes like no, do, open eyes, etc., stuff like that. So you had more freedom and stuff like that. They also added new random variants for the princess cake slice, which is kind of nice, I guess, if you liked that item, and some placeable brand variants for the lantern trees and posts. So they added more brand versions of those like tree column things, which of course should have been in the game forever, but they're finally in the game now, so that's all you can really say about it. Of course, then they had another super minor update, and then another minor update which added color labels for color variants and building menus. So now it actually says what color it is in the build menu, which is crazy to say, because I remember when this update came out, because it came out like very recently. I think it came out like literally last month. I remember seeing that and thinking, wait a minute, that it already does label them. What the heck are you talking about? And so I went back and I looked, and it literally doesn't. Like, it literally, like, before this update, it did not say the color of the item at all. When you went to go change the color of it in the build menu, it was crazy. I was like, why the hell has this never been in the game? Why, this should have been added like 3 years ago or something, right? It's crazy, but they finally added it, and it's something that's like, wow, that's just such a good quality of life change, and it's crazy to think that it was never in the game before. And then, of course, after that, they added placeable double lantern posts and more color labels to building menu, improved sprites for some salad bowls, and just mostly improvements and stuff like that. And then finally, it's winter, and they added the placeable book stands and placeable winter variants of like the tents and spooky trees and a lot of those tents and those kinds of items that we got. They even gave us an updated version of the ice maze, so it's different from how it was the past 2 years, so that's pretty cool. And then after that, there was a minor fix here. Now, it's very possible that by the time this video comes out, there will be another update. Most likely, there will be 1 or 2, probably just 1, but counting up what we have here, counting up the major versions, we have this year, we had 6 major versions. You could argue there's like 6.5 major versions this year. However, this year is not quite over as of recording this. We know there's obviously going to be the holiday event. That 100% is most likely going to... I'm not going to say 100%. It's 99% likely that when they add the holiday event, it's going to be a new major version. So we can expect about 7 major versions this year. Now, comparing that to last year, there was 8 major versions last year. So in terms of updates, there is arguably less updates this year than there were last year. Now, that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, because maybe they're focusing on other things on the side at the same time, so their focus is a little bit split, so you get less updates. There were about 8 big things that people either wanted for a really long time or were just a huge deal in terms of Ponytown's development. So about 8 big things this year. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to count all the fixes that happened this year, and I'm going to actually compare them to last year. Now, I've done the comparison before this off screen, so that's why I know there's been 8 major versions last year compared to this year, but I've not done the fixes yet, so we're going to do that live on screen right now. I'm going to show you how I plan on doing this. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm not just going to count. I'm not just going to go, okay, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, etc., etc., etc. I'm literally just going to scroll down here, and we're going to get kind of more of an estimate on this than we are anything else because of the way I'm about to do this. If you want to go through and count it yourself to double check me, go right ahead. So again, we're going off of the assumption that Disabled Gift Collection event is the first update of 2024. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this, and I'm just going to scroll and just copy all of this right here. All of this right here. All of this right here. And then I'm going to hit Control C. Here we go. This is a duplicate word finder. So if I just come in here and I hit paste, there it goes. And now we just look at the word fixed right here. Every single time they fix anything in the game, it says fixed followed by the fix. So all we have to do is come over here and say fix. There were 207 fixes in 2024. Let me write that down. 207 bugs were fixed. Now, technically, there's other bugs that are never on the changelog. Sometimes there's small minor things that just slip through the cracks and they don't put it on the changelog or something. But more or less, 207 fixes were added on there. Now, another thing I want to look at too is improved, because again, whenever they improve something, this is kind of like a fix. So we're going to write this number down too. So what I can do now is again go back to Ponytown, because I know where 2024 started. I can do the same thing to figure out where 2023 started. So if I scroll through here, all of this stuff is still highlighted, so I can just scroll until it's not highlighted anymore to find the beginning of. So this is where roughly 2023 ended. It was roughly the last update. So we can obviously assume that version 110.2 is the end. If we scroll down and find again where it says disabled holiday event, we should find out where 2023 started. After comparing these two, I think 2023 actually had better updates than 2024, but that is something for you to decide, I guess, for yourself. So anyway, here we go. Version 0.102.0 disabled the holiday event. So this is most likely where 2023 started. So last year most likely started here. So if we just scroll through here, we're gonna try to double check that. Wow, this was a huge freaking update. Holy shit. Not only did they disable the holiday event, but they added so many freaking items. Look how many freaking items they added. That's crazy. Holy shit. Anyway, added holiday decorations to library exterior, which is crazy to think about. I guess for some reason they added the holidays and then it took them a while to add the decorations to the library, which is crazy. But the library was added last year, so I guess it's not too crazy. But anyway, again, we can mostly assume that it began roughly in this one right here, version 102.0. So let's scroll down to the bottom of it, right about here, and we're gonna do just what we did before and scroll until we see where 2024 started. So we're gonna go from here all the way to the end of 2023. They added a lot of emojis early last year too, which is kind of crazy to think about too. I wonder if that implies we're gonna get a lot of like emoji related stuff at the beginning of 2025 or something. So we're gonna assume this is part of it right here. We're gonna click that right there. It's so many words, it takes a second for it to load. All right, just to make sure this is actually the right one, 103. Okay, so this is definitely the right ones. So last year, we had 263 fixes and 82 improvements, which again implies that we had a much more successful year last year than we did this year. Because if we compare the numbers, last year we had 263 fixes and 82 improvements. That is a lot of fixes and improvements for 2023. Compared to 2024, we had 207 fixes and 73 improvements. Okay, I'm editing this and I just realized something else to take note of, and that is the thing that says added. I'm in the 2023 section here. So in 2023, they added 139 things according to the duplicates. So supposedly they used the word added 139 times. So that's roughly 139 things added. This year in 2024, if we go to that same list right here, it says 101 things added. So 2023 definitely had more things, at least as of now. Technically, again, they might add like 80 things or something like that. We don't know, because they may add that many things in the holiday event or something, but still something interesting to take note of as well. So this is kind of a situation here too, where again, it kind of falls back to the major versions, because I mentioned earlier that the major versions, we had 8 major versions last year, and this year we're only slated to have 7 major updates. So there's definitely at least one full update. Now this doesn't necessarily mean anything. We're only comparing last year to this year. Technically the year before that could have even less than 2023 or 2024 combined. I would have to go through all that stats there, but comparing last year to this year, it seems 2023 was a lot bigger of a year in terms of updates and features and things like that, and this year was a little bit more on the minor side while still having a ton to bite your teeth into, sink your teeth into, so to speak. So this year, I think we definitely had a lot. We had a lot of requested features. We had, not necessarily as many updates as we had last year, but still awesome nonetheless. I think it's just great. I think what we had this year was good. In the comments below, let me know what you think of Ponytown's 2024 and how it compares to Ponytown's 2023. Were there big enough differences? Have they started to decline in terms of updates? I would love to hear about it in the comments below and start a discussion on it. Maybe I can even make another video, maybe on the smaller side, talking about the updates and stuff like that. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all of those wonderful things like that. Because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself. And I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.